Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. All right, thank you all for coming. My name is Dave Hall. I'm the Dean of the College. I want to thank our judges, and Lee will introduce them in just a moment. I want to thank Lee for all her work on this. This is one of our events in Startup Week, and this is an idea challenge event. It's an idea that came actually out of some effort in the fall. We had some classes that had interacted cross-college, so we had a bioinformatics class interact with an IST class, and they had worked together in a short period of time in order to put together some ideas related to the design of apps focused on health. And so we like that idea of cross-college interaction, and we came up with the idea of coming up with this challenge problem or project where we would require that students form teams, or the students that wanted to do that form teams, and those teams had to include at least 2 colleges. Of course, at least one member from IST, but other colleges. So the idea was to try to foster inter-college, interdisciplinary innovation. And so this is the culmination of this. This is the first time we're doing it, so it's a bit of an experiment, but we think it's going to be quite exciting, and will continue in other years. So last week we had 15 teams that consisted of 53 students from 9 colleges that competed in semifinals, sort of Dancing with the Stars, but for innovation. And tonight the top 6 teams will present their ideas to this panel of judges, Steve Heeb, Bob Morgan, and Gene Riechers. So thank you all for doing this, and let me turn this over to Lee. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right, quick word about the judges. Okay, you can't do these kind of competitions without the people that are going to hold you to task. Okay, so Steve Eve, if you were here before, he just gave a wonderful talk. He's president and general manager of RDK Management and vice president of licensing and strategic development for Comcast. So what he's very good expert at is figuring out, promising innovations, cutting edge technology. So you'll be able to look at your all's presentations and decide if there's a good market for that. So welcome. We also have Bob Morgan, co-founder, former CEO, and now director of Morgan Franklin Consulting. He's also a member of our IST advisory board and a big advocate of these types of competitions. And also he has a new thing going on, Pivotal Plays, where he's trying to capture and share stories about everyday things that people do that make a difference. So look for that coming out. And then we have Gene Riechers, vice chairman of Everfi, right? A leading technology company focused on teaching, assessment, and certification of critical skills in students, which I think is wonderfully needed, and that's one of the things we talk about a lot here in IST is critical thinking. Was also senior advisor of Valhalla Partners, a Virginia-based investment firm. Has an amazing track record, again, of identifying early-stage technology companies. And when he was a student here, he was one of the people that started Thon. Okay? So our largest philanthropic student-run organization, so we can thank Gene for that. Okay. So the way this is going to work, as Dave mentioned, we have 6 teams. Okay. They are going to have 5 minutes to do their thing up here, and then the judge will have 4 or 5 minutes to ask some questions. Lee will keep time, so you all look for her to keep track of your time. And then they'll deliberate, we'll announce first, second, and third prize. And then there's a reception afterwards. So, without any further ado, Team 1, diabetes screening test strips. Aaron, Nicholas, and Richard will start us off. Come on. All right. Guys, clicker. Mics, when you're done, hang on to the judges, okay? Okay. And all right, whenever you're ready, floor is yours.
I think this is on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Testing. Okay. In the developing world, diabetes is a serious and growing problem. In Kenya alone, 10% of the population is affected by diabetes. And furthermore, diabetes complications result in 27% of all hospital admissions in Kenya. The amount of funding that goes into diabetes is vastly outstripped by that which goes into HIV/AIDS. Foreign aid funding that goes into HIV/AIDS matches the amount that goes into diabetes by a factor of 20,000. As a result, early detection methods for diabetes are scarce, and problems often go unnoticed until symptoms become serious enough to warrant hospital admission. Meet Jack. Jack is a rural, humble farmer living in Nyeri, Kenya, living off of $2 a day. Jack has undiagnosed diabetes. As a result, if he does not get appropriate treatment in time, he'll start experiencing symptoms such as blurry vision, numbness in his fingers and toes, which could potentially lead to amputations. In addition, he is also at an increased risk of cardiovascular and kidney diseases, which could potentially result in death.
So the main solution being used in our region right now is a blood glucometer, and there are a number of problems with that. The first is that a blood glucometer should be used as a monitoring device and not as a diagnostic tool. Additionally, it uses blood, which is unsafe in this context, it is expensive, and it is inaccessible to the average rural Kenyan like Jack. Another potential solution is a urine diabetes test strip, which is currently available in markets outside of Africa. The problem with this, similar to the glucometer, is that the production cost is too high, and due to complicated supply chain issues, it is very difficult for it to access remote areas. We have designed a test strip, a manufacturing process, and a business model that will address all of these issues. Our test strip is designed to test for two components in urine. These components will be present in the urine of diabetics and not in the urine of healthy individuals. For a positive test result, the test strip will change color as shown. We will be printing these test strips on a normal, cheap, and locally available inkjet printer. First, the ink is removed from the cartridge and replaced with the chemicals for our test strip. Then it is printed onto onto specialized test strip paper, as shown here. Our manufacturing process begins with the preparation of the cartridges. Then we will print the test strips with 100 strips for every sheet, cut them, and package them for sale. There are a number of groups that stand to gain from our venture. The first is the Children, Youth, and Empowerment Center located in Nyeri, Kenya. As the Penn State HESI program already has a good relationship with this institution, they have agreed to rent out lab space for us to manufacture for a very low cost. Additionally, an employee at the CYEC will be able to make a living operating our manufacturing facility. We will then sell the test strips to community health workers who are trusted community members that roam the region and administer health services to locals. They will be able to sell our test strips for a small profit and make a living for a job that is otherwise on a volunteer basis. So back to Jack. Jack is roaming through the market one day when he encounters a community health worker who offers to sell him a diabetes test strip. He produces a urine sample in private and returns to the CHW for analysis. Upon a positive test result, he is referred to a local diabetes support group for further testing and to begin treatment options. Jack, like many community members, will stand to gain that way from our venture. Additionally, the Penn State HESI program will be able to use the profits from our venture to scale up our venture in other regions or potentially to fund new social enterprises.
Well, one of the goals of our venture is to help people. Another one is obviously we got to make money. The graph above shows the revenue projections for HESI for the next 5 years. Like many initial startup companies, we're initially in the red for our revenue. This is due to a large startup cost. This includes a printer, notebook, and other various one-time things. One of the ways that we're looking to decrease this cost is by simply applying for a $5,000 grant, by receiving that grant, we'll be able to make profit immediately. We will be able to manufacture our test strips for around 1 cent, package them in 100 sets, and sell them for $5 US. From there, we will sell them to community health workers, and to increase our revenue, we'll be selling them also to hospitals/clinics. Given the population of Nyeri of 600,000 people with a 13.7% diabetic rate, that gives us an initial target rate of 72,000 people who can sell our product to. The beauty of our system is since we are setting up a locally manufacturing center directly in Kenya, we have the ability to meet demand very quickly and scale up quickly. In summary, our product is better than the existing product for 3 main reasons. Number 1, accessibility. We have the ability to reach rural Kenya much more than existing products. Number 2, safety. Our product handles urine, not blood. And 3, most important, cost. Using our manufacturing ability, we are able to produce our test strips for 5 times cheaper than the available solution. Thank you. We're now available for questions.
Could you put the revenue projection slide back up? So you're saying that by year 3 you are at $5,000, or is this is that the right way to read it? $5,000 in profits or revenues?
It's revenue.
Okay, I don't know how revenue goes to a negative number. Normally, revenues minus cost can get to a negative number.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure what the chart meant. How do you organize a business where people are in the U.S., such as yourselves, supporting this? $5,000 is 2 airplane tickets to Kenya. How does this work in coordination with what's going on in the U.S.?
So we're actually setting this up on a volunteer basis. We're going to be traveling to Kenya this summer ourselves, like on our own accord, and we're going to be meeting with representatives from the CYEC. We're going to be meeting with community health workers and other stakeholders to help implement it, and we should be able to set up the manufacturing facility so that it's fully sustainable without our involvement.
In addition, it's likely that Penn State Humanitarian Engineering and Social Entrepreneurship, aka HESI, that we're with, for startup for our venture, they will probably have a fellow that will be there for a period of months to help get things started as well.
Do you have to get approval from the Kenyan government? Any health approvals?
So this is going to be part of the Mashavu program, which is part of Penn State HESI, which operates a telemedicine venture in the region. And we already have, the venture's been going on for a few years now, so we already have a relationship with local officials.
Great.
So when you're looking at the different things you're competing against, have you really assessed how difficult? I mean, cost is great. I didn't get a sense from what they're actually using over there. Are they using the glucometer? Are they using the other test strips? Are they not using anything?
They're not using test strips. They're using a glucometer, but most of the time it's not being used until someone becomes seriously symptomatic because it's so expensive.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to assess what the challenges would be to overcome, the folks already on the ground using the glucometer versus your test strip? You have any sense, or have you done any market search on, are they happy with the glucometer? I mean, adoption is, can be difficult, particularly in the healthcare arena.
The glucometer is mostly being used by hospitals, so it's not being used by health workers and things of the like. So, yeah.
Yeah, when you look at the opportunity, what would be the numbers? Is it thousands, millions, over a year or something like that? I saw the revenue, but units, or what is the market opportunity, do you think? You understand the question? It's
Like the market opportunity of our product?
Yeah, so is it just in Kenya, or is it
Well,
bigger,
right now
broader?
we're
Is it?
Yeah, right now we're just focusing on Neary County because that's where initially what we're setting up. But since we're setting up with like a manufacturing process, like it can be scaled up to like anywhere around the country. It's just we're initially starting in Neary County.
Right, where do you think the market opportunity is? Either dollar or number of units, something. How many strips will you sell, or something like that?
So that's hard to gauge, but our target
Just gut
market,
shot. Yeah.
our target market, like you said, so Neary has the highest diabetes rate in all of Africa, and there are about 80,000 people with diabetes there, and that doesn't include the people who are at risk. So I think you were the one who calculated that.
Well, yeah, that mean we can print 16,000 test strips per cartridge, and there's only 80,000 people that are like quote unquote have diabetes, but that's not including people that are at risk. So if we can market our product correctly, like I think that they can expand like greatly. Like diabetes is only going to be a growing problem as the future goes on. So
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what is going on in that region of Kenya to cause diabetes rates to go up?
A lot of it is changing diet and changing lifestyles, so people are getting a lot less exercise. They're leading more sedentary lifestyles and working jobs that require less physical effort, and that combination of factors has led to it.
Real quick, why Nigeria and not some of the other countries in Africa?
Kenya.
Kenya.
So we already
Well,
have
why not
we
Nigeria?
already have a relationship with a lot of local government officials and CYEC and things like that, just because of the history of the Mashavu program. And like I said, Nigeria has the highest diabetes rate in all of Africa, so it's a good target market.
All right, thank you. All right. Next, we have skin infection detection. Okay, which one? This one echoes? This one is?
The one on your right hand is one of that, I think.
Okay, so this is, okay.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Gene Riechers. How are you doing?
Okay, this is Jenny, Holly, and Ellie.
So not that mic?
Not that mic. We're going with one. We're going solo. Okay? So you guys gotta. And I will let you know when to go. Okay? Okay. Well, I'm waiting for them to finish.
She said to wait for her signal.
Guys ready? I'm just waiting for you to stop writing. Sure. All right. You may start.
So our group is focused on screening for skin infections in sub-Saharan Africa. We chose this issue because the World Health Organization estimates that 25% of the global population is currently suffering from a skin infection. This percentage is even higher in areas of warm climate, immunocompromised populations, and low socioeconomic status. As you can see from the map behind me, sub-Saharan Africa meets all three of these criteria. In this region, however, there is still little to no knowledge or treatment of these skin infections. They commonly bring about uncomfortable symptoms such as intractable itch, open sores, hair loss, and even nerve damage. Ultimately, these infections lead to disability, disfigurement, and a reduced quality of life. Another issue that we had to work with in our venture is that most residents of sub-Saharan Africa will rarely, if ever, visit a physician. And this is for a multitude of reasons. It has to do with cost and travel time, but primarily it has to do with the lack of physicians in this region. In South Africa, for example, which is one of the most developed sub-Saharan countries, there's only one dermatologist for every 3 to 4 million people. To combat this issue, community health workers are a system that's in place, and these are leaders and members in the community that can provide basic pre-primary health care to the local individuals. These are especially common in rural areas to help bridge the gap between individuals and pre-primary care settings. So we propose that community health workers could be trained on our device, and this will be beneficial in directing infected individuals to seek proper care. So through our research, we have learned that many common skin infections will fluoresce under proper lighting. We have ordered a handheld UV light that is commonly used in dermatology offices in the United States today to screen for certain infections. This is also known as Woods lamp technology, and our device is handheld, portable, and it can survive being used in the field and can be carried by the health workers without hindrance. Our device is also battery powered, and it has a long lifespan. Some of the skin infections that we can screen for are scabies, eptharasma, and tinea capitis, which is more commonly known as ringworm. All three of these infections both fluoresce and are common in sub-Saharan African countries. So this is our business model. Our business model consists of receiving our device from the distributor and providing it to our community health workers. We will also provide educational training to our community health workers through our partner, DeFigo. DeFigo is a nonprofit organization that works in developing countries to train health professionals. So our community health workers will take the knowledge and our device into the community to screen community members for possible infections. So on the previous slide, we showed that we are going to be purchasing our device for $4. The education will be provided by our partners, Jaffigo, for an additional $2. We will be selling our device to community healthcare workers for $20 and therefore going to be making $14 profit on each device that we sell. Community healthcare workers could sell this service for 25 cents as a screening test to individuals, and therefore in just 80 screenings, they'll be able to make back their money that they paid for our device. We estimate that in about a week, the community healthcare workers could screen about 20 individuals, and therefore in just 4 weeks, the device will end up paying for itself. And any screenings past that point of 1 month, they will be making profit on our device. So why our venture over the competitive market? To put this simply, there really is no competitive market in existence right now in Kenya. What they're doing presently is individuals are going and purchasing treatment based off of their symptoms, which can be very harmful and highly ineffective. So our venture will be successful because we have a ruggedized device that can be used in the field and will be feasible in this context. We have established partnerships with other successful ventures, such as Jaffigo, that can educate and provide credibility to these community healthcare workers and give them the knowledge they need to use our device. We also are working with a pre-existing infrastructure of community health workers in these developing countries. So our overall goal in the long term is to help improve pre-primary healthcare and decrease the skin infection prevalence. And we'll be going to Kenya in May to test our device and validate our proposed business model. So thank you. We'll now take any questions.
You keep that one. Yeah, you guys pass this one around. Yep.
Did you talk about the total revenue that you expect? You talked about per unit revenues.
So we are a very new venture that's actually just started this semester through the Mashavu Healthcare. And so a lot of what we will be doing in Kenya is going and kind of testing out the waters and seeing the feasibility. So we know per device, and we know that there is excess community health workers in the area we're traveling to, but we're not positive on total numbers.
And do community health workers have the wherewithal to afford this? Or is it paid for by the government? Who pays for it?
So currently, the way the Mashavu program works, just very briefly, is they do pay for a backpack and then pay it back over time. So they do build up revenue, or they have money that they would be able to purchase this device. And especially because it can be paid for so quickly, we do think it's something that they would be very interested in.
How would, let's say somebody does buy a device, how would they get the word out, that they're available to do screening? The education process to bring the customers in for them to get money that then makes them want to buy the device from you.
So community health workers are already in the community on a regular basis, and many members in the community form bonds with specific health workers because they see them on a normal basis. So when community health workers go out to do their normal tests and what Mashavu has already set up, they could tell them, we now have this new test that we're offering, and we're hoping our education will be helpful enough that they can explain skin infections to a community member who then understands what the device is doing and will be interested in getting a screening test.
All right, so it's a word of mouth and.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
So you're launching in Kenya and using Jaffigo as your partner. From the map, it showed that this is a problem all across Africa. Is Jaffigo all across Africa? Is that your partner, or is it just the partner where you plan to launch this?
Jaffigo works in many developing countries. Right now, through the Mashavu program, we already use them as an educational trainer. So we already have that relationship with them in that area, although they are in other places. So we aren't implementing our model there because they're there. It's for many other reasons.
About replacement parts, batteries, light bulbs, how does that work? Do they recharge these?
The batteries are actually just AA batteries, which are accessible and you can purchase while you're there. So we're just assuming that after the batteries die, that is something that the community healthcare worker would then have to repurchase.
And how about just obsolescence? The light bulbs wear out, burn out?
Yeah.
Well, the light bulbs will last for a couple hundred hours, and since we have this program set up, we know that there will be people from the U.S. going down to Kenya on an annual or monthly basis, so they will have access to purchasing new bulbs if they need them.
No, that's good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next up, we have Support with Love, Lydia and Ethan.
On May 5th, 2009, I lost my best friend to suicide. Due to the negative cultural perception in many traditional Asian cultures, topics such as suicide and depression are considered taboo, as they garner a sense of dishonor, guilt, and shame for the entire family. It was because of these stigmas that I did not receive the support I needed within my family. And after reviewing various studies online, I found that these stigmas, along with cultural beliefs, and the lack of education on mental health topics were recurring reasons as to why Asian Americans are significantly less likely to seek help from a mental health professional. This is why I became inspired to start Support with Love, a foundation dedicated to creating a community of support and education for Asian Americans dealing with mental health stigmas and suicide prevention. Support with Love will develop and offer culturally integrated workshops for parents to learn the facts about mental health and an online forum for people to share their experiences and provide one another with support. In less than 6 months after losing my friend, 3 more students committed suicide from my high school in Palo Alto, California. That is why we are targeting Palo Alto along with 2 nearby cities that have a high Asian American population, Mountain View and Los Altos. Combined, there is a target market size of 44,938 people, and eventually we will expand out to other cities with a dense Asian American population. There are other organizations doing similar work, such as To Write Love on Her Arms and the Asian American Suicide Prevention and Education Project. However, they mainly focus on providing resources for people who are seeking help and cover several mental health topics quite generally. Support with Love, on the other hand, is dedicated towards eradicating the stigmas in the traditional Asian culture. And we also run an online forum so that people who can't receive the support that they need within their family can actually go online, read other people's stories, and find support within others who have been through the similar situations. Because we are a nonprofit, our revenue model is a little different. The main source of revenue comes from government funding. Next, it will come from corporate funding, such as the JP Morgan Chase Global Philanthropy Grant. Another source of revenue comes from hosting workshops and also partnering with advocates. One such person that I'm looking forward to working with is Jeremy Lin from the Houston Rockets, as he grew up in Palo Alto and went to my rival high school. Lastly, a small portion of revenue will come from donations and merchandise sales. Currently, I am working with Dr. Shashank Joshi from Stanford University, who is an assistant professor and a psychiatrist, and we are working towards throwing our first workshop this summer. Thank you.
Have you had any experience with government funding or trying to pursue government funding?
No, not yet.
Okay.
It's difficult.
How much research have you done about government funding and how extremely difficult? I mean, Dean Hall can probably elaborate on that as well.
Yeah, it seems that it's pretty hard to actually receive the grant, but I did find 2 grants that I am going to apply for once I receive my 501c3 status. It's one of them is for research with the mental health stigmas, and another one deals with suicide prevention.
What's the size of those grant requests?
It starts from $10,000 each.
I think you did a good job of describing the issue and the concern and the need in the community. Could you say more about how you're going to solve this? I get the issue. I want to know more about what you're going to do specifically to address it.
So during our workshops, I'm going to find hopefully someone from Stanford, a mental health professional that can come in and give a talk. And it won't just be a regular talk about just facts. It'll be culturally integrated. So we'll tackle the specific issues that Asian Americans deal with and the specific stigmas, such as like feelings of dishonor and guilt when someone has a mental health illness. So we're going to talk about that and try to get people out of their shells to talk more about how these stigmas affect them.
How will people be recruited to attend? Because if there's a stigma about being associated with the issue, they might choose to not attend because of that stigma.
So that's why I talked about Jeremy Lin. We were trying to work with him. The Asian community really likes him, and he's very popular in Palo Alto. So having him at the workshops really gives us kind of a credibility boost if he speaks out for us. And also we'll have the first few workshops for free as more of an incentive for people to come.
Sure. With your competitors out there or the competitive situations, have you researched what worked and what didn't and why, which would then give you a reason why you might be successful with your proposal?
There are several forums out there that I researched. Many of them are kind of general, and ours, since it deals with more of a stigma, I think that people might want to talk about that more, since we might have more in common with others who are also dealing with stigmas. So I feel like that's a point that really can let people have a discussion and something that connects them.
All right. Thanks. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Innovation State, RT, Jared, and Harrison.
Should I just click? All right, you guys are ready? All right. Good evening. Today we are going to talk to you about Innovation State. My name is Jared, this is Harrison, and that's RT. Innovation State is the connecting place for Penn State student entrepreneurs and idea makers, Penn State alumni, and the State College community. Now, before we talk to you about Innovation State, I want to talk to you about two startups here at Penn State. One startup created by RT, Vortic Watches, and one startup created by myself, Green Towers. We each started this startup about 2 years ago, and we both plan on graduating in May. But that's not what I want to focus on. What I want to focus on is that it took us 2 years to get to the point where we feel comfortable enough to sell a product. 2 years. So imagine what would have happened if we could have cut that time in half and made it 1 year until we could sell this product. And I think we could do that through providing connections and support through the Penn State community. One example of this is in last fall of 2013, Green Towers was looking for an attorney to help come up with their operating agreement and file their LLC paperwork. At the same time, RT and Vortic Watches was trying to find an attorney to help them with for their intellectual property rights. We ended up going with a local attorney who did a great job. RT ended up going with a Penn State alum who gave them a 25% discount. Now, if we had that discount, we would have saved $200, which for a Penn State student startup is a huge amount of money.
So what's the market opportunity here? Well, we're at Penn State, so it's pretty big just here. But
1/3 of all entering college students in Pennsylvania are interested in entrepreneurship, according to a recent study. Thousands, tens of thousands of Penn State alumni donate tens of millions of dollars every year. And over 12,000 people read Onward State every day. So how do we access those people and show them all the great things that the idea makers here at Penn State are doing on a regular basis? How do we create that connection between the outside community, the family that Penn State has, and us here, the innovators here? And we have a demo that should work, hopefully, of our solution, which is a website. And it's so cool that it froze the computer. So, yeah, I could just roll. Oh, there we go. So this is currently live at innovationstatepsu.org. And what it does is really just create a platform that we can use first here at Penn State, but then easily scale to other universities to link supporters and innovators together. So we have resources for innovators like attorneys and rapid prototyping companies and pretty much anything you would need to get your business running. And then for supporters or the family of Penn State that wants to know what's going on, we can link them to all these great things that are happening. For instance, the Lunar Lion, if you didn't know, we're going to the moon. We'll be the first university on the moon. So that's pretty cool, and we want to make sure that everyone knows that. So how do we make sure of that fact? So that is our prototype, which you can check out for yourself, and we're obviously working on right now.
Great. So we plan on launching Innovation State as a nonprofit organization with the intent to scale. So starting here at Penn State, we don't plan on making any profit from this. We plan on making a profit through scaling to other Big Ten universities, to other universities around the nation once we get our proof of concept here. We think that the budget for this, to create this, is going to be about $43,000. This assumes that we don't bootstrap the entire site ourselves, which we've already done. And we're also planning on hiring students within IST and within the Penn State community to be our content managers and our writers to eliminate that cost. And that's what the Daily Collegian does, that's what Onward State does. So there are proven models that work. How we plan on mitigating these costs are through different revenue streams. A big one's going to be referral kickback. We have sponsorship ads, featured content, as well as donations. So if this is going to be for Penn State, we think that the Penn State community will probably want to invest into this platform.
So many Penn State students have ideas, and there are many different resources out there to help them. Educational resources, innovation spaces, places to help them connect with other people to get it to go. Our idea, Innovation State, takes all these other resources that are available to Penn State students and brings them all together under one roof that will help them launch their product faster. With Innovation State, you can launch your product with insane speeds. This is Innovation State, and we'll take any of your questions.
How do you think you can compete with the likes of Facebook or even smaller companies out there that kind of could utilize social media for connections on a business perspective?
Okay, so I think we're not trying to compete with social media. So how Onward State drives their traffic is they post a Twitter update every 30 minutes. They post a Facebook update maybe every hour. And we plan on doing, we see this being almost very similar to that, where our page views aren't necessarily coming directly from the site, they're coming from the content linked here. And then through that, then they get linked back to the site, and they can see, oh wow, there's more happening here in this ecosystem. So I don't think we'd be a direct competitor, I think we'd be leveraging those resources.
Well, I was kind of looking for the answer that might have been, I don't want to tell you what, but just being a Penn State alum will probably make you go to that site versus the other. Do you think that holds in your model for all of the other colleges, which is where you get your revenue?
Okay, so you're playing on the loyalty factor of
yeah, that's
university.
Yeah. Is that the basis?
Yeah, so, and that's the thing. So this is going to be innovationstatepsu.org. We envision Innovation State OSU, so Ohio State University, where it links directly back. And RT, go ahead.
So I've had several internships in different parts of the country where I've worked with many other Big Ten university students and alumni. And Penn State is unique in that we are extremely proud of our university, but we're not unique in that everyone is proud of the university that they go to. So we feel that we can generate this same kind of momentum wherever we go. It's just about tailoring it to that university. And to do that, we can leverage the students of that university to help us build that site for that particular university so we get it right the first time, if that answers your question at all.
Mm-hmm. Any others?
First question would be, why start off as a nonprofit, as an organization, when you plan to scale and make profit?
Well, first off is to really to try and help other people. We wanted to build this so that we could help innovators like ourselves and these other students that we meet and know that have great ideas. And so since it started as that, we thought a nonprofit would be good. Most of the nonprofits I know make profit. Our original vision for the profit that we make was to reinvest it to make this bigger and grow and grow and grow. So I guess, just coming from the initial start of trying to help people, it's why we pick nonprofit.
Okay. And secondly, and then I'll turn it over to Gene. Sites are only as good as the content that's on those sites. I really didn't see in your model how you're planning to actually get content to come to you. I saw a website administrator, but all those organizations up there have to have relationships where you're pulling data or information from those sites, or they're pushing it to you.
Right. So a lot of the content is going to come from Penn State idea makers like us, and entrepreneurs love to talk about themselves, and they love to self-promote. I love doing that. I'm an entrepreneur. So I can tell you for a fact that a lot of the students, as long as this exists and it's a credible source and it's something that people use, they will come to us. And a reason I can say that in good faith is because that's how Onward State does it. I mean, I've personally sent, the people who run Onward State probably know my name and hate me because I've sent them so many emails trying to get featured on Onward State. Because it's a great source and it's a great way to get recognized. So I think it's just based on what you build.
Just a couple of thoughts. I've seen businesses that had referral fees as part of their revenue source, and inevitably people wind up working around you. They figure out the person on the other end of this is whomever, and figure out a way to meet without the referral fee. So. There's other revenue sources, and I'm curious if you have a way to ensure that you get referral fees.
Yeah, just an initial thought is we work with these companies. So let's say we're working with a rapid prototyping company. They set up some type of discount. We type in a code if it's an online order, or I guess it's really the thought process is to only work with an online order. And then the Penn State student actually will get also a discount here. So we're assuming that we're working with companies that want to see students launch and get early customers. So maybe this Penn State student will get a 10% discount here only if they use our code that we provide them. And that's how we get that referral code back.
So just to follow up on a comment Bob made earlier, this is more in the category of advice and questions. I think that this can work. I think it can work as a for-profit business. And I think that there's an earlier session here that in this room focused on businesses that have profit and purpose. And to me, there's no reason for this to be a not-for-profit. There should be no embarrassment about having a for-profit entity. And I'm involved in two great for-profit entities that have social missions attached to them. And it works. It's advice, not question.
Say no to money.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
good job.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
All right, next we have scraplication. Thanks, good job. this is Brennan, Zach, and Albert.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Gene. Nice to meet you.
Good
Hi.
to meet you. Hi, how are you doing? Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Good to see you. Good to see you.
All right, can everybody hear me? All right, I'm gonna start out with a story. This is Fred. Fred is my boss, and Fred works at a scrap metal recycling company. And in this picture, Fred is not very happy. Why is Fred not very happy? Well, I'll show you why. For the last 2 summers, I've been working with Fred to run reports for him like this one. And this report shows a big red break-even line where every sale he makes that is above that line he's making profit on. Every sale he makes that is below that profit line, he is not making money on. Now, my job was to figure out how we can make Fred more profit. And so one of the bigger problems with this was the ones that are below the profit line, they were high impact sales. And so they were high volume sales that his company gave the sellers of the scrap metal a deal because they were bringing in a lot of volume. And so they lost a lot of money on those deals. So let's talk about the scrap market a little bit. The scrap market is a market valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. And ironically, there's very little technology penetration in the field, and we think that we can capitalize on that. So after working in my internship for Fred, I decided to call up 20 to 30 other companies and ask them about the same problems Fred was having. And remarkably, what we found was other companies were having the same problem, and a lot of other companies were having the same problem. And so we decided to make an app, and I'm going to let these guys run you through the app.
All right, so this is what buyers have currently. It's a cloud of data. It's available from sources like Bloomberg. It's free, but it's not the most accessible for them to use. We propose is to take this data, make it more user-friendly, and provide it to them when they need it during time-crucial situations. We're going to take this data, compile it in our servers, and distribute it to our users through the companies in a web app, and at the heart of our solution, a mobile application. You may not know this, but many of the buyers are making their buys on the go, where they don't have access to this data, and they're just making it from experience, and it's not always the best move. So imagine a buyer gets an offer. He doesn't know if it's good or not. He opens up his app, puts in just a few numbers, and within seconds, it tells him, yes, you should buy this, and here's how much money you'll make. He knows instantly it's a good buy. He logs that data, and it goes back through this chain to our servers, where we're going to use it to make better suggestions in the future. Now, we have part of that app created, and Albert's going to tell you how that works.
Okay, so as you can see on the far left screen, this is our sign-up screen. And basically, you go through and you check off all the metals that you deal with. And if one metal isn't listed, then you can add your own. We then use our app to leverage Bloomberg commodity data and subtract out all the costs that might come with processing the metal. With that, we can create an algorithm that lets us determine how much money is produced by selling the metal and determining how much money you should be buying the metal at. Afterwards, as you can see on the far right screen, there's this beautiful screen that basically says this is a good buy, and here's what you should be buying at, and even gives you a little profit margin to show you how much money you'd be making. Once you hit done log it logs into our server so that we can make smarter decisions in the future. Brennan's going to then explain our revenue model.
All right, so the revenue model is pretty simple. For smaller companies, we're going to have just $100 per month per download, and we are defining smaller companies as less than 5 downloads. And then for bigger companies who give us a little more cash flow, it'll be bumped down to $75. But how are we justifying this? That's the biggest part. And the answer to that is we're going to bring it back to Fred. When he saw the data that we gave him, he was able to change his buying practices, and over the course of 3 months, he increased his margins significantly. I can't talk about the exact numbers because it was confidential, but the exact quote was significant. And so our competitive advantage is that nothing else exists in the industry right now, and that we have mentors in the industry like Fred, who, as you can see in this picture, is now happy. And we're very grateful to have him as a mentor, and he's helped us through the process the entire way. Thank you, and we hope you like our idea. Any questions?
How many scrap buyers are there in the U.S.?
In the U.S.?
How big is your market?
I don't have a number, but there are a lot of scrap suppliers, and some of them are people like you and me. So if you have metal in your garage, if you have a refrigerator in your garage, you can bring it to the local scrap metal recycling company, and they'll give you money for it. So there are some bigger dealers, and they collect from everyone. But you can be a small supplier and actually just give it right to the company, your local company.
Yeah, I also don't think it was mentioned, but we found out this is 100. Can you use the mic just so? Yeah. The scrap industry is valued at hundreds of billions of dollars. So if we can just capitalize on 1%, even a fraction of a percent, that's huge income for us and for the people we're selling this to.
So the first thing I saw was there was a line with profit across the top or across the middle and then losses.
Yep.
And there were some big bulk sales at a loss.
Yep.
Wouldn't Fred just be better off not making that sale? I mean, doesn't Fred kind of have his threshold already? And so what would the app tell him?
So Fred did have the threshold. It was the problem that the buyers were making these calls on the fly. I'm sorry if I'm not using this as well as I could be. Buyers were making these decisions on the fly and doing some mental math and scribbling a few numbers down and seeing if these buys would work. And a lot of the times they didn't. And so he found ways to get them thinking about the right things while they were in the process of making a buy. And that's really why the mobile application is so important. Because it gives them the ability to, make a quick calculation and have it be really accurate and really precise, and tell them exactly how much they're going to make off of a buy or how much they're going to lose.
Gotcha. So the U.S. market, or global, whatever you said, I forget, was a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I assume some of these larger scrap buyers are pretty savvy. So I would assume your market is, this is my gut, and you can always say, no, that's not true. I would assume this app would be best suited for small and medium-sized companies?
That's correct, but surprisingly, the company I was working for over the summer was a large company. And I don't know about the other large companies. We're talking with a few of them right now, but it was a problem in the company that I was working for.
Oh. Good. That's good for you guys.
So your revenue model was about paying per download or number, so $100 per. Have you looked at any other revenue type models? I mean, the goal here is to make these organizations more money. And they have an opportunity to substantially make more money. Have you looked at other revenue models where you could actually share in the success of some of their success?
We have thought about that. We've also thought about, once we get some of this data logged in our system, we're going to have a lot of information about some of the deals that are going on and what the prices are and such like that. So if we can offer advice based on that, that might be a next step. But we will have some of the resources to do that, as well as have a revenue model like that.
You have other questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, last but not least, we have MajorAL.com with Luke and William.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luke Metaxas, and we're pitching MajorAL.com. So what's our problem? Our problem is that students make uninformed major decisions. And as a result, this can lead to overwhelming student debt. So allow me to kind of elaborate a little bit. As the student loan crisis indicates, students mistakenly choose majors that have no demand. And as a result, they can't pay their student loans after college. In fact, 46% of student loans are defaulted on. In addition, I can't choose a major. I'm sure you've heard that before. This is a significant problem. 40% of students have to stay an additional 2 years in college because they can't choose a major. This can cost up to $70,000 in extra tuition costs.
So, our solution. Using easy-to-read rating and graphs, MajorAL simplifies the college major selection process for students, their parents, as well as guidance counselors. So, let's say I was a prospective supply chain major. What is supply chain? Here we have basic content as well as an informational video so that students are able to get a basic understanding of the major. Next, is this major in demand? Will I come out and make enough money to quickly pay back my student loans? To the right, we have some key statistics, but since no one likes reading, we summarize it in an easy-to-read demand rating. What skills are required? Do I have the skills that adequately fit the skills that are needed to succeed in this major? And then, what do people who have gone through this major really think? Yes, we can read a lot of content about the major, but I want to know personally from people who have gone through this what they think. Did they find that the skills they learned adequately fit the job? How was their course load? Did they enjoy going through this major? And lastly, at the end of the day, we're all here to land the job. So what career opportunities do I have? That is the brief demo.
So now that Will kind of ran through the prototype, I'm going to talk about competition. So yes, we have a lot of competition, and we have our advantages, they have theirs. However, there's 3 things that MajorAL does better than everyone. First, we have the best information that is all in one place. If you ever research the college major, and I'm a freshman, I have, it is all over the place. 2, this information is completely unbiased. It is completely based on data, and data doesn't lie. And lastly, it is the most convenient. No more reading lengthy paragraphs about majors. Everything is summed up in ratings and graphs. So, how are we going to make money? On the left here, I have parents and I have undecided students, and these are the parents of the undecided students. What we're going to offer is a subscription, an annual subscription that really expands the content. So if you just want access to additional content, they can pay for that subscription. On the bottom right, we have high schools. Same thing, they have a subscription as well, however, this is going to be more in bulk because it's going to be school-wide. And lastly, universities. Universities spent $156 million on internet advertising in the first half of 2013. If we can just tap that potential, that is a ton of revenue. So, in terms of marketing, what's our target audience? Our target audience, number 1, is parents of undecided students because it's the biggest and also they're the ones with the money. They're the ones that are going to pay for the subscription for their kids. Next is high school. Again, it's about revenue. They have the money, that's going to be all in bulk, big revenue potential. And lastly, undecided students. Yes, that's who we're trying to work with, that's who we're trying to help, but let's be honest, we're kind of poor, so they're probably not going to be the ones who are going to buy it.
Okay, so MajorAL, yeah, it's a cool idea. But what matters is execution. So what's our plan of attack? First, we want to, this summer, survey students at NSO as well as local high schools, just to get an understanding of people going through the major selection, what they're really looking for. Next, we want to target here at Penn State. We want to make an MVP, minimum viable product, for the colleges at Penn State University using WordPress. Then, have this product out for the students, get feedback, see what they like, where we can expand, where we can add features. Then we want to push for advertising, get our name out there, let people know what we're trying to do, and then improve and expand to other Big Ten schools. So, Major Owl, yes, is a major research website, but there's potential to be much more. We could be a tool for guidance counselors, as well as connect students to college recruiters through student profiles. But this is long-term. For now, we want to work on the major research. Thank you so much for your time. And we're open for questions.
So I assume the parents are the ones providing the subscription payments to you guys.
Yes.
How do you think you get their trust? Because they want to, if they're going to use the site, they need to trust the site, and then they let their kids access it.
That's an excellent question. It's the issue of credibility, and we've definitely considered it. And what we're working towards is really bringing in Penn State as a sponsor. That's what we're here for. So that's why we're starting with Penn State, because we want to appeal to university. If we have the University of Penn State or Penn State sponsoring our site, that's pretty credible. So that's our goal for that.
There are a lot of college and career readiness and preparation sites. You had a competitive slide, which I appreciate, but can you go a little deeper into how you compare to other things that are out there?
Absolutely. There's no demand rating. I've looked. No one has a demand rating. There's no skill ratings. There's no graduate experience ratings. I mean, if you try to research, you're going to get embassy news articles. You're just going to get vague articles about, oh, we think these majors are in demand. I promise you, there's not a source that presents the information in this way. It's simple, and it's easy to read, and it is probably the most informative and probably the most useful information.
So, in selling to a university, Penn State or any other university, there are majors in a university that tend to lead to higher paying jobs than ones that don't.
Sure.
And how do you envision a university navigating, choosing to pay you money when in effect it says that some of their majors aren't so valuable?
Sure. Sorry for that confusion on that. We simply just want the universities to advertise. So, for example, Penn State has a great supply chain program, right? They could advertise their supply chain program on our supply chain page. I'm not saying they have to advertise all their programs or that. I'm just saying they could just select and choose their best programs and advertise from there. So they're not insulting any other of their programs. Got it.
So you mentioned a little bit about the guidance counselors. It's great to target Penn State University, but a lot of these folks are making the decisions back in 10th and 11th grade, and their first interaction is with guidance counselors. I mean, how much effort or knowledge do you have that you can educate the guidance counselors on this type of data? And then secondly, how much money are they spending on the information that they're currently paying for that you could actually supplant and replace that?
I can't give you an exact figure on what they're paying for their guidance counselors tool or their tools. However, I've met with a high school guidance counselor. I met with Penn State Career Services, and I acted like I was an undecided student, and I said, well, do you have a source like this that talks about majors and exactly the demand? And my response was with the career services person I met with, we say, no, we don't have a tool like that, but I really wish we did. That'd be very useful. So clearly that's something I can't say for sure what the exact they're paying, but clearly that they want it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to give the judges a little time to deliberate. And while they're doing that, we want to thank Dean Hall for his support of this, and Mary Beth Rawson, our Associate Dean for Undergraduate Studies. Do we have any mentors that are in the audience that worked with students? One of the things that we did was paired the teams up with alumni mentors, and I want to thank Maureen in development for helping me find some of those. It was very nice of them to give us their time. and energy in that. Schreier's Honors College helped us host the semifinals as part of this Future Summit. Liz Kissenweather, who helped mentor Dan Rollins. Teams, stay here. We're going to do pictures afterwards, so can't leave, okay? So we'll let them chat it up, and we'll be back when we have the winners.